All right. Go ahead and call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bowman, you missed roll call?
Did I?
Yes, it's a new item.
How about that?
I apologize.
We're all processing board docs tonight, so bear with us. We will have a roll call. David
Roll
Wolga,
calling.
present. Eric Boswell.
Yes?
Gary Diesel.
Yes.
James Kirshner.
Yes.
Martha Riesinger.
Yes.
Richard Ruloff.
Yes.
Terry
Call
McDaniel.
order?
All present and accounted for. First, we have motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda of the May 18, 2021 regular session meeting as presented.
Se-
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda item as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have public participation. Board members and administrators will listen to concerns and will respond when appropriate by mail or telephone at a later date. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once during this period, and each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. Per policy BDDH1, public participation at board meetings, the following guidelines and procedures will be followed. In order to speak during public participation, a public comment form must be filled out and submitted to the board president prior to the beginning of the meeting. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once, and each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. I do not have any public comment cards.
I do not have any either.
All right. Next, we have report of the superintendent.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You do have, I think, 2 notes of appreciation in your packet. And I did have a couple of reminders before I get to the other items. Under the consent agenda tonight, the board changed the June board meeting to Monday, June 21st at 7 p.m. I want to thank them for doing that because that allows me to go on vacation and enjoy myself and then come back and put the board meeting together. And it also allows Dr. Taylor to be here and then he's going on vacation afterwards. So thank you for moving that date and allowing us to spend some time with our families. I also wanted to let everyone know, kind of remind everyone that the last day of school is Friday, May 28th. It is a half day, so it is 8 to 1 p.m. It seems like in the middle school in particular this week, the whole building is like vibrating. Everybody is just so excited all day long. And then I wanted to give a quick update. So we began working on a long-range facility plan on Wednesday, June 15th of 2020. That was our first big meeting with all of our employees, community members, parents. There were a lot of people. So we had a large meeting to kind of discuss purpose, timeline, what our end goal was, and then they broke into the subcommittees and began their work and their discussion last night. These subcommittees are Bloomsdale Elementary, St. Genevieve Elementary, the middle school, high school, athletic facilities, early childhood, and then the district level subcommittee is the group that is taking all of the priority lists from the other subcommittees and trying to create a plan from all of that information. So our task and our goals were basically to analyze our current facilities. You know, how could we improve them? Then we wanted to garner public engagement through having our employees and patrons and parents as a part of all of these committees. Look at and incorporate safety, security, maintenance. One thing that's kind of been tossed around a little bit recently is solar power. so some of those new ideas too. There were tours that took place to look at the facilities, and then we want to take all of this information and create a master plan to look at funding scenarios, how we might be able to afford to do certain things. With the recommendation, the plan coming to the board, I think in October, and I'll talk about timeline in a minute. And part of the goal of all of this work is how can we use our current revenue streams to make sure that we're staying up on projects, like our roofing project. Every year we have a roofing project, but how can we use those more efficiently, but also in the future, is there a potential for a bond issue? And so the timeline, like I said, the 6 subcommittees worked from January through March, and then COVID shut the world down. They started working again this fall. Most of them had done the building tours, so most of their work at that time was through email and virtual, finalizing their priority list. So they completed, I think, at the end of October. The district subcommittee picked up their work in March, and we plan to work through July. Development of the written plan from July through October, present the board with the plan on October 19th, and potentially run a bond issue in April of 2022, based, and I'm putting that out there now, based just what the big projects are coming out of all of this work. So more information to come, but I wanted to just make the public aware. We are working on this big plan, and it's been a great process, and I'm super excited to see where it goes. I know Mr. Bova and Mr. McDaniel have been on those committees and a part of that process. So it's just kind of a quick update, and there's more to come in the future. We did notes of appreciation, so back on my report. Dr. Boyd, correct me if I give any misinformation. Graduation for our seniors is this Saturday, May 22nd, in the Peggy J. Johnson Gymnasium. Overflow will be in our Performing Arts Center. And for those who've never attended and are wondering what the overflow means, if you want a more comfortable seat, we live stream it into the Performing Arts Center. But before the ceremony starts, we do march the graduates through, so you do get to see them. Doors open at 7, and the ceremony begins at 8. We are not putting a limitation on the number of spectators. Therefore, we are asking that people wear masks. We're requiring them. So we want as many people as possible to attend the event, but masks are necessary to protect grandparents and those who are more vulnerable to the virus. Anything I missed, Dr. Boyd?
I think that's it. Things will look a little bit different in the gym as far as the setup goes, kind of in regards to graduates. Last year we had them out on the football field in front, and we are looking at doing that again this year. So the graduates will actually be in front of the stage with ticketed seats for parents actually behind the graduates. So it will look a little bit different in regards to that piece. But other than that, we're excited to host graduation. We're excited to be inside and to give the students the opportunity to be able to walk across the stage and perform.
Thank you. Well, as parents, I think Dr. Taylor are excited to be there. Principal reports. Are you up first? Always, huh?
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, we've been busy this month. Like Ms. Geck and I were talking about, we could have used a lot of slides this month, but we narrowed it down to a few big events that we thought are special to us. Kindergarten Buddy Day is always neat to see the new kindergarten students come in. We had about 80% attendance, which is really good for the new incoming kindergartners. They were assigned buddies in the classroom, and it all went really smoothly. So we were excited about that. We had preschool graduation. We had 10 pre-K students moving up to kindergarten next year. So That was a special event. It was always really cute. We had fourth grade used book sale. Parents and teachers donate books, and we sell them for 25 cents, and the kids are super excited. They take Walmart bags home full of books, and then we use that money to help pay for the fourth grade field trip. It doesn't cover the whole field trip, but it covers a lot of it, and it makes it less money on the parents. Then we had our kindergarten music program. The kindergarten teachers, the students, and Mr. Friedmeier worked really hard on that, and we got to have it at the PAC this year. And I told the teachers, let's go ahead and book it for next year, because it was so much better at the Performing Arts Center. We didn't have to set up chairs and take them down, and the parents could see the kids. They were up on the stage instead of like level with them. They're always standing up trying to see the program in our gym. Then we had a lot of positive office referrals this month. From the top left-hand corner to the right-hand corner is Sophia Crocker, Malia Bates, Dylan Browse, McKinley Vogt, Grayson Whittam, Clayton West, Tristan Stribling, Jay Skedinger, Isla Woke, and Owen Stafford. And they did all kinds of things, like maybe coming in, getting to work. They were using habit number 1, putting first things first, or think win-win. They were using the habits, and they were also being kind and spreading kindness in their classroom. Then we had the Right to Learn Awards. For the Right to Learn Awards, Ms. Nelson's in charge of that, and they did a 5th grade contest for the cover of the book. So they had 2 winners. They had one that won the cover, and this is the book here that they put together. Becca Palmer won the front cover, and Liam Vins won the back cover. And then they put together a big book for the students to take home. And it's really neat to see the progression of writing. I kind of put it here, but I don't know if it'll come up. Nope. That's okay. I'll show you in the book real quick, but I can't see that. When you look at pre-K writing, it's like this. And then when you flip through the book, I mean, it just progressively gets better and better and better. And then by the end, they are typing pages and pages. And this one I wanted to show you, a 5th grade boy did like a video game history. And it's like a kind of like a book, tells you all about the games and history and how to play them, and he put in the graphics and everything that went with them. It was really good. So I always enjoy the Right to Learn Awards. That's it. And then in Miss Rowland's class, she's doing careers, and she was working with all 1st grade classrooms, and they have to work on advertising and sales and pricing, and they are doing little shops, and each shop picked their own charity to donate to. So we had a donut shop, last week we had a chocolate shop, and this week we have a watermelon shop. Wow. And the kids love it. They just are so excited to see customers, and they go around and they deliver product to kids in different classrooms too. So they even have a security guy, like he walks around, make sure you're paying your money and things like that. So it's really cute. And then that's it for Bloomsdale. We have a lot of field trips coming up, and field day, and meet your new teacher, and we have a lot to do in 8 more days. That's it for Bloomsdale.
Thank you.
Good evening. As Mrs. Usman said, we have had so many things going on our building, it was hard to capture them in just 5 slides. So I tried to capture the highlights. You may have seen on social media or in the newspaper that Mrs. Meyer's 4th grade class received a Do the Right Thing nomination. It was a surprise. Detective Tracy Halquist contacted me and said, hey, I saw this out there, and I want to do something unusual. I want to nominate the whole class. But she knew she couldn't invite them all up there, so she came to us brought each kid a personalized certificate and a shirt, and brought prizes and gifts for the teachers for their appreciation. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to Carol Schwint. She's the former SGR2 interpreter that helped to teach the students to sign in that video, if you saw that video, and Bailey Otto for her assistance with the video and the drone footage. So that was really a neat thing, and the kids were surprised. We kept it a secret from them until she showed up with the card, so they were super surprised. And then we also did the Officer Pete fundraiser. Mr. Kingery was in desperate need of a haircut and was trying to find a reason to raise money. And this incident with Officer Pete sort of fell into our laps, and he decided, well, maybe I'll get a mullet. And his goal was to raise $800. Little did we know, we raised over $2,800 for St. Genevieve Elementary. And I want to give a special thanks to Julie Picu for donating her time and talents for giving him that marvelous cut. It lasted 3 or 4 days, and then he got rid of it because the kids were referring to him as Mr. Mullet. And so he had to get rid of that. Some of the happenings in our building. On the left, we have 3 pictures of our pre-K to 2 family fun night. The teachers organized sort of a camping outdoors theme, and we had it out on the football field. Believe it or not, on April 20th, we had to cancel it due to snow, but we had it on April 27th, and it was like 80 degrees outside. It turned out to be a beautiful night, and we had very good attendance. And the teachers worked to have stations set up around the football field so that families were able to spread out and socially distance. And we got a lot of good feedback that the families really preferred having the event outdoors. So that is something for us to consider moving forward in the future. And then in the bottom middle, we have one of our sweet new little kindergartners. We had a kindergarten buddy day as well, but we called ours kindergarten kickoff. We did ours a little differently because this year's kindergarten class was very large and the incoming class was very large. So the teachers were worried about the number of students that could potentially be in the room at one time. So we did something different with our current kinders, and the new incoming kindergartners were able to come in and get their undevoted attention from their new teachers. And so when I asked them for pictures for the event, they're like, we were so busy we forgot to take any. So they had a couple of individual pictures, so I was able to put one on there. And then on the right, we have 2 pictures of our early childhood and preschool graduation. Up on the top is sort of an action picture of all of the kids. They were getting settled and they were waving at their families and they were having so much fun. And on the bottom was a more formal posed picture of just our preschool kids. So the families were super excited that we were able to have this in person and have it in the pack. And it's always a special event, and the teachers did a great job putting that together. And we had 5 positive office referrals. Dresden Dunsey, Sean Morris, Lindsay Bonert, Harley Courtway, Dane Edelsizer. There are a lot of great things that go on in our building each day, and the students are living the habits all the time, but these were 5 students that just sort of went above and beyond and caught their teacher's attention and received a shout out. And then this slide right here, we celebrated on May 7th our habit leaders from the entire school year. So last year, before COVID, we had done like a habit leader celebration in the pack, and we were able to bring families in. Well, when that happened, the second semester kids didn't get anything like that. And at the beginning of this school year, that wasn't really possible either. So we were trying to reward them and honor them in any way we could. But by the time 4th quarter rolled around, we thought we wanted to do something for our students. We didn't think we could put all 4 quarters in the pack at one time. So the Lighthouse team came up with this tremendous idea. They decorated the hallway, they put out the red carpet, they had lights hanging from the ceiling. Mr. Kingery DJ'd it, he announced all the kids. They walked through the building 1 quarter at a time. And so they got to, I guess, get recognized by their peers. Their parents weren't able to be involved this year, but we're hoping to do that next year. But this was really something special, and I give the teachers props for thinking outside of the box and making that happen for our students. And then last, at the top, across most of the top, is our 5th grade performance.
They do a percussion and guitar performance, and you can see the students on the left playing some percussion instruments, the students towards the right playing the guitars, and featured holding a certificate is Kaya Plati. She received one of the musicianship awards. I think 4 or 5 individual awards were given out that night. And then down at the bottom and to the right-hand side of the slide is our 5th grade mixer that we just recently held with the Bloomsdale Elementary students. Amy Rowland, the counselor at Bloomsdale, and Jessica Grimminger, the counselor at St. Genevieve Elementary, worked really, really hard to make this event happen this year. That was something that the students did not get to experience last year. And I think it may have made the transition to middle school just a little bit more difficult or uneasy. So we're hoping that them getting to mix with the students prior to the end of the school year will help ease that transition next year. We could have put slides on there about teacher appreciation. Our PTO and our secretaries went all out in our building to make sure that our teachers felt celebrated and appreciated throughout that whole week. We've had field trips going on, field days tomorrow, weather permitting. I think Mrs. Usman said we have Meet the Teacher coming up. We have lots of events in the next 8 days, and I'm tired, but we're going to get through it. So that's it for St. Genevieve Elementary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to share with you a few of the fun things that we've been up to at St. Genevieve Middle School. At the top left is a picture from our 8th grade celebration, which was on Friday. These guys are playing tug of war. I heard lots of students and lots of teachers comment on what a fun activity that was. We were able to get together, go outside. We had a beautiful day, and it was nice to, just relax a little bit and celebrate their accomplishments and getting through a tough school year. And those students were just outstanding. We didn't have any issues whatsoever, and as I said, just took time to celebrate and had a great time. And I want to thank Student Council for helping put that together for us. It did feel a little bit different this year because we stayed on campus instead of going to the community center, and it turned out that the preparations for that were a little bit easier. Also, we didn't have to mess with transportation and ordering food for the community center, and so it just turned out to be a great day. So hats off to Student Council, but hats off to our students too, for making the most of that time. At the top right are some of our students who placed in the Mineral Area Art Festival. In that picture, there's a combination of middle school and high school students. We had 9 students between both buildings who placed in that particular art festival, including some really, really impressive self-portraits. If you get a chance to get a better look at that artwork, I'd encourage you to do so. There's some really impressive work there. We, of course, had Teacher Appreciation Week, too, and I want to thank the support and the appreciation and the love that was shown to us from our community partners, from our student organizations and clubs on campus that reached out and provided goodies or just notes of appreciation, and it seemed like we were really pampered that week. And so I want to thank everyone that took the time to do that. And then at the bottom right is our choir concert from last week, which was a real treat because it's been a long, long time since we've had an in-person performance in performing arts, at least in music anyway. So that vocal music concert was great. The students did an outstanding job. Mrs. Jokers, as you know, shows a lot of enthusiasm in putting together a good show, and it was well attended, and the students did an outstanding job. I also want to just say thank you to you guys and to our community that's listening for being the kind of people that are willing to support the performing arts. Based on my own personal work history and my own hobbies and habits, that's really important to me, and I want to thank you for helping us support those students and those programs. What's coming ahead over the next few days? We've got some big things. NWEA has decided they wanted to test in science, our science teachers did anyway, because they had heard about the data that the other subjects are receiving. And so they had a real, honest, heart-to-heart talk with their students and said, listen, guys, we understand it's the end of the year. We understand you might feel a little tested out, but this is something we want to do. We think it's important, and explain to them in a very mature and professional way what they wanted to do. And the science students said, let's go for it. Let's take the test so that you've got your baseline data that you need because they understand what we have all learned over the last few years, that this is a good first step in making improvements to the program, making improvements in instruction, identifying any areas that might need to be beefed up, identifying the areas where we're already showing mastery. And the students got that and jumped right in without any problem. So they're working on NWEA science like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. And we'll have that data almost immediately and can use it for planning next year. So great job, 8th graders, for jumping in with us. We really appreciate that. We also have Big Smiles Dental Clinic on campus. That's always an important event, and we appreciate the people that help us out with that. The SGMS Band Concert is coming up this week. That'll be at 6:30 in the PAC on the 20th. End of year celebration, that'll be for all of our students, 6th, 7th, and 8th, will be on Friday. And the weather is holding up, thank goodness. And we'll take those students out in multiple rotations where there are different activities set up. Some up in the building, some out in front of the building, some down on the track. And so that way we can provide students with a variety of things to do throughout the day. And we also have snacks, we have Kona Ice coming. Should be a really fun day, just as last Friday was for the 8th graders, but this will include all of our students. Finals, of course, next week, and our award ceremonies, and we'll honor students from clubs, from athletics, from academics, and really do our best to make sure that everybody gets a nod. That's very important to us, and so we're going to take the time to do that next week during the finals schedule. As a matter of fact, we have some time set aside in which classes have already completed their finals and therefore don't need additional time for review. And so we're going to take advantage of that time to present awards. And then June 1st, of course, is checkout. I want to talk to you for just a minute about an initiative, and really this is a Mrs. Huffman initiative, and she has authorized me to speak on her behalf tonight. She and a handful of volunteer teachers have come together in an effort to better define who St. Genevieve Middle School is. Because we still have pieces of PLC up there. We still have pieces of the leader in me, and those things naturally we inherit from elementary, and they do an outstanding job with that. But what we found was that we're dealing in pieces of this and that and the other, and some inventions of our own. And so these teachers, under Mrs. Huffman's leadership, have taken some time to identify what those best practices are, how they reflect who we are, and how we can streamline or narrow our focus or rebrand, as Bailey would say, with more consistent branding. So what they have done is they've taken on this initiative and have tried to tie everything that we do to the 3 pillars of our model: family, tradition, and excellence. So when we talk about things like the building climate, how can we reflect those back to the 3 pillars? Our dragon groups, which we up until now have called lead groups, we're looking at a few minor tweaks to that, to change those, to categorize those based on those 3 pillars, increase the rotation so students can see more of those. Also, a different look at how we're going to handle positive office referrals in the future so that those students can be celebrated a little more and we can tie their accomplishment back to those 3 pillars. And also revising just slightly the way that we handle wings. So the real effort here is to make everything cohesive, to make it part of a larger program, and to provide some consistent branding for what we're doing at middle school. And again, that's the brainchild of Mrs. Huffman and some really dedicated and smart and enthusiastic teachers who have been hosting meetings, talking things around with their departments, even involving some students to get some ideas. And so we're really excited about this initiative and plan to start plugging things into place when we return in August. So hats off to those teachers and to Mrs. Huffman for taking that on. It's a big operation, but one that they're taking very seriously, and I'm sure will be executed with a lot of love and care and precision, and we're really, really excited about it. Positive office referrals since we met last include some really outstanding students, including Kaylin Warren, Madeline Shuffler, Isaiah Bosler, Gage Witu, Kirsten Gray, Ava Greer, Seth Fisher, Grace Joggers, Abigail Woodard, Eli Whitworth, Brody Winters, Cale Clemens, Sophia Hook, and Jolie Parker. And finally, I want to take just a minute to thank you, to thank our community for helping us get through an extremely challenging year. I thought at the end of last year that I had survived the toughest year I would have in education. And I was wrong. This year was the toughest year I've had in education. But we were able to get through it together because even though we might have occasionally had differing ideas of what the best path might be or what the best choices were, we decided to stick together and do it. And I thank our administrators, I thank our board, I thank our community and our parents and our teachers and custodians and cafeteria workers and maintenance and everybody, because it took all of those people to pull this off, and certainly not least of all the students. As you can imagine, this was a very difficult year for them as well, and yet they persevered, they kept their heads up, tried to keep their spirits up, they stayed with us, and together, and I really mean together, we were able to pull it off. So thank you to everybody who contributed to helping us get through this year. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doesn't even feel right to follow that up. All right, at the high school, we've been extremely busy over the course of the last month, and we've had some big celebrations, some big landmark things that characterize us at the high school and what traditionally takes place towards the end of the school year. So first of all, I know that I talked at the last board meeting about prom. We hosted prom, we held prom, everything was fantastic. The kids had a blast. Dr. Etherton, Mr. Diamond did a fantastic job of getting everything ready. The hall looked absolutely beautiful. They did a fantastic job of getting everything decorated and laid out. The kids had a blast. They came in, they danced. I did not hear one complaint from a student. I think they were just excited to be able to have the opportunity to be at prom. We did crown a king and queen. The king for prom was Mitchell Palmer, and the queen was Addie Taylor. And then we also hosted our Dan Clark Honors Banquet, and it was actually a ceremony this year. We hosted that in the PAC. It was a very long ceremony this year, just giving the teachers an opportunity to be able to recognize students, and I think the teachers this year took an opportunity to really put a lot of emphasis on their opportunity to be able to just talk about kids and just be able to highlight the great things that we're seeing from our students, and just really a very positive night. We saw a lot of smiles, and the kids, I think, were just happy to be recognized and getting the opportunity to be back. I know that our teachers were, just seeing the interactions that they had even behind the stage and watching their interactions with the kids and hearing some of the little stories, not only that were being shared on the stage, but also being shared off of the stage with their students, I thought was really, really special, and some great moments just to highlight and recognize our students at the high school. So we're really excited to host those two events both within the last month. So that was really exciting for us in the high school. A couple of big highlights. The guy down on the bottom, his name is Eli Fisher. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about Eli. He has actually been, if you guys go out into the high school, you guys have seen that we've been working on taking some of our locker banks out of the high school. And right now they look like big empty spaces, and some of you guys are probably wondering, what in the world are these guys doing? What are they going to do with those spaces? Well, Eli is a student that we put on one of these spaces, and it's actually right across from the senior tee. And he actually just sent me the blueprints. He's been working on it all school year of getting this laid out. And basically he's working on getting a design put in to where it's going to look very nice, but also where we can kind of get some unconventional seating and a location there for that students can either sit, lay, with some additional plugins for students to be able to charge Chromebooks. And he's got a fantastic design that he's worked on. He sent it to me just the other day, and I know that he's a senior and he's probably not going to see it come full circle, but I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity just to thank him for his hard work on that, and hopefully we will be able to see that vision carried out here in the next year or so. Up on the top, we have Ari Taylor and Lily Boyd. They both participated in the MAC Creative Writing Contest. Ari wrote an essay that was from the perspective of a Vietnam soldier coming home from war and the experiences that that soldier saw. And Lily wrote hers on love and honor. And both of them were recognized through that contest and received awards on that behalf. So we congratulate them. Up on the top right, Devin St. Clair was our Rotary Student of the Month, and as the Rotary Student of the Month, he did get to choose an individual to go with him to the Rotary meeting, and he did choose me to actually travel with him and get to go over. I know usually they don't come to the assistant principal and ask the assistant principal to go with them to Rotary. So I've had an opportunity to work with Devin. Actually, Devin was one of the athletes that I coached when he was a freshman in high school, and now I still get to work with him some, with my wife being the cross country and track coach. So he chose me to go with him. He did a very good job of talking about the things that he's doing. He's actually moving on next year. He's actually going to go and run for Mineral Area College and Steve Davis over there. So very, very nice opportunity that I had to go and be a part of that. And then down on the bottom, Addie Taylor was actually recognized as an honorary mention for our Scholars 100 from the Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals. And I actually had an opportunity to talk to Addie about that the other day in the office. And she was just really excited for the honor and just the opportunity to be able to just even be considered. It's a very, very prestigious award it's a very select group of qualifications in order to be eligible for that, and Addie was very, very pleased that she was even in consideration. We did host our variety show, which was a big hit for us in the high school. We had 10 acts this year, and Mr. Mooney and Mrs. Robertson did a fantastic job of getting that laid out and prepared for our students. They had rehearsals, they went through, we had an individual that, we had multiple individuals that sang, we had an individual that played guitar and harmonica, we had a couple of dancers, and then down on the bottom right, if you can see these two gentlemen, they actually did a dance with a beach ball, and it was very entertaining. It was very well done. I'm sure there's a video out there. I know Cheryl Wolstetter actually has a video out there. That's her son Devin and Levi Wiegand, who did this dance with a beach ball between them the entire time. The beach ball touched the ground, I believe, one time, but they did a phenomenal job, and it's amazing. You would never think that, number one, those two would be doing something like that, but number two, that they could move around with the beach ball not touching the ground the way that they did. So very, very impressive. And then I obviously want to give photo credits to Drew Newman. She actually shared those with me so I could share those with you guys. So very, very special day for us to be able to host that variety show. Our speech and debate team at the district competition, we had several students that were able to perform at a very high level. We have Holly D'Amico over in the bottom left. She placed sixth in prose reading. District champions were Caitlin Fuller and Addie Taylor as the policy debate champions. And then Sean Uzel was the humorous interpretation. He received fourth place. So our speech and debate team for a number of years have been highly successful. They've done a fantastic job. Ms. Turner and Mrs. Uzel do an outstanding job of working with those students, preparing them, and providing them opportunities to be successful, not only at the district level, but then even moving on to that state level. So very, very high standard that they've begun to establish with our speech and debate team. Some other great things happening. Coach Robinson, sorry, I was on Robertson earlier, now I'm on Robinson. Coach Robinson was named the Missouri Basketball Coaches Association Assistant Coach of the Year. For those of you guys that know much about Coach Robinson, he spends a ton of time working with those basketball players through Open Gym. He works very, very closely with Coach Coleman, and sometimes can serve as that cool, calm, and collected individual that Coach Coleman needs to keep him in check. And Coach Robinson does a fantastic job of that. He actually got a little fiery this year in one of the games, which you don't see a whole lot from him. So he usually is that cool, calm, and collected individual, but I can tell you anytime that I have an issue working with him from my office with any kind of student that's on the basketball team, he is fantastic to work with, and I know that he does a great job of reaching our students. And then Coach Bonnell down on the bottom right was named the Missouri Class II Sectional and District Coach of the Year. He works tirelessly with our wrestlers. I know that a lot of young men have become great young men because of the work that Coach Bonnell puts into them. I see it day in and day out. And individuals that come from some difficult households, some difficult backgrounds, he's able to turn them into fine young men. And I can think of several individuals that have made it through that program that are the people that they are today because of the work that he's put into them, not only from the coaching standpoint, but also the character standpoint. And he just does a phenomenal job for our kids and a phenomenal job for that program. And then golf to state. I know I was talking to Mr. Bosler earlier, and he said that he didn't get a phone call because he was out on the golf course. We sent 3 golfers to the state meet, or the state competition, and they had an opportunity to go up and compete Monday and Tuesday. I think the weather was probably not as good today as it was yesterday.
It was terrible both days.
Yeah. But we had a little send-off that I would like to share with you guys down in the bottom right. The students had an opportunity. We actually did this last week on Friday since the kids had to leave early and weren't able to get a proper send-off on the day that they were actually leaving. We actually lined the halls here in the hallway and gave them a proper send-off for them going and being able to compete at the state meet. So I wanted to share that with you guys.
Hey, I saw your brother having his class.
Bringing that to state. We'll bring 2 home on Monday.
It was a pretty neat opportunity, pretty neat experience. I know I had an opportunity to talk to both Coach Mueller and also Coach McDaniel, who used to be Coach Kine, on their way out the door, and they just felt the love and the support from the high school and getting out and doing that. I know Coach McDaniel was talking a little bit about, she played golf when she was in high school, and she said never in a million years would they have had an experience like these kids had an experience here. And so they were both very thankful that the kids lined the halls and the kids gave them a proper send-off. It was a really, really neat, great community that we have and that we fostered here with the students, and they're so supportive. It's neat to watch some of our students watching them just clap and cheer their peers on and their classmates, and some of them I'm like, dang, all right, we're making some progress, we're making some strides, and I think that's the piece of it that's really neat. And so we're very blessed and very thankful that we have great kids and we get an opportunity to work with them day in and day out. So, thank you guys very much.
I haven't seen that video yet. Everybody else has seen it. Not me. Huh? No.
And then I will add to that, since we weren't able to have the retirement and recognition banquet this year, and as Dr. Mercer took the time to thank everyone, we are going to provide a celebration luncheon for all employees. Middle school and high school, we will do Monday the 24th. St. John Elementary on Tuesday the 25th, and then Bloomsdale on Wednesday the 26th. We've also given our retirees, our 25-year, anyone who received a degree or an achievement, a heads up that we'll be coming around on Monday to hand out awards and take pictures, so smile pretty and look good. So we wanted to find some type of way to celebrate. So we'll take those photos from the handouts on Monday, and Bailey will put something up on our social media pages and recognize all of those people. So. Sorry, there's no escape button on here. It's broken off.
Sorry, I made it more difficult.
It's all right. Thank you. Okay. The last item on my report tonight, you do have 5
minutes. Thank everyone for everything they've done this year. I think it's a pretty common theme with the board and everyone. Thank you very much. There's been so many positives this year. And, I feel it's the board's role, though, to continue to point out a few other things. It's been a difficult year, and I think some have taken that and tried to turn it into legislation that will hurt public education. And 2 weeks ago, the Missouri legislature, and I want to give legislators their due. It's a difficult job. It is, to balance everything that they have going on. But 2 weeks ago, they passed House Bill 349, which creates an educational savings account bill, though it's not really educational savings accounts, they're tax credits. Yeah, vouchers, tax credit, they're tax credits. Up to $50 million of tax credits. That could be up to $75 million in the coming years. If you're familiar with the St. Genevieve School District, you know that public schools have tremendous successes. I mean, this is the best school in the state as far as I'm concerned, and there's a lot of them, but there are opportunities to improve in every school. There are programs here that can be duplicated throughout the state. There are programs in other school districts that can be duplicated throughout the state to benefit every kid. And I don't think our kids do without much, but there are districts out there where kids are doing without certain programs, and that 50 or 75 million could go to those programs. Up to 4 million of that 50 million can simply be spent on just paying the organizations that process the scholarships. So they're called educational assistance organizations. So $4 million can go to people who just determine who gets those scholarships. And those scholarships can go to private schools, parochial schools, home schools, and I have no problem with any of those schools. I just don't think public dollars should go to those schools. I just want to remind you of a few more things, and please spread the word, or ask me if you have questions, or ask any of us here, I think, if you have questions, because this bill hasn't become law yet because the governor hasn't signed it. He has an opportunity to not sign it. The legislature is supposed to reimburse 75% of transportation expenses for every school district. Here in our district, that's $1.5 million a year. Yeah, these are raw numbers. They're not going to be exact, but $1.5 million that we pay to bus our kids, and rightfully so, every year. In previous years, we've been reimbursed anywhere from 15 to 20%. This is a state statute. So 20%, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. 20% of that is $300,000. It should be $1.125 million that we're reimbursed. So this bill says, you know what? If we give you 40% of the 75%, we're going to offer these $50 million in tax credits. So the 75%, 1.125, the 20%, 300, that's $825,000 difference. That's one school district. There are 510 odd school districts in the state. But we're going to take $75 million potentially and give it to folks who, you know, again, I don't want to knock these schools. I just don't think you could take that $75 million and fund early childhood education in the state, or more VOTEC programs throughout the state, or maybe even pay the entire 75% reimbursement to the schools as the statute says. So I'm going to shut down now because I'm on my soapbox and I need to climb down. But it just bothers me to no end that we're able to give tax credits to folks who want to transport their kids to a private school. So if you want to transport your child to a private school in St. Louis and you live in St. Genevieve, you can use one of these. You have to apply for it. You can also reimburse yourself the travel expenses to drive to St. Louis and back. You can also reimburse yourself the computer that you buy for your child to take those virtual courses. Those are all adequate things to do, but I just don't think public tax dollars should go to those, and I really am going to shut down now. But if you think there's a problem with that, contact Governor Parson, and that's all I have. I'm sorry.
appreciate
I would
the
just like to add to that, when we went to Jefferson to meet with the legislators, they not only want to hear from, like, the board members, they want to hear from the parents, the community. They want to hear from everybody, teachers and everybody. So the more that gets a hold of them and tells them that they don't want this, the better off it is.
I will add that our state representative voted against this, and our state senator, I don't believe, was present for the final vote, so she was not in favor, but she was not present for the final vote. It did just barely pass, but it passed. So, thank you again. Next, we have unfinished business. I see none. Pardon me. And next, we have new business, A+ partnership plan.
I was hoping you would come up here.
I can see that by the look. I'm back. Really, the good news is I really don't have a whole lot to go over with you guys. We really didn't make a whole lot of changes. We did have our annual meeting, and we actually had to have that in person this year. As far as the partnership plan goes, we went through and updated members that attended the meeting. We took a look at dates, and we updated those things. However, there's so many programs that we didn't have this year, but I believe intend on having next year, that I didn't feel like it was right removing those just with the intention of putting those back in. So as far as the partnership plan goes, we didn't do a whole lot in regards to that piece of it. Numbers as far as the A+ program goes, I'll kind of give you guys a little bit of update in regards to this year's graduating class, and also kind of where we stand right now in regards to seniors as we prepare for the next couple of days. It looks like we are going to graduate probably a group of seniors that will be 50 plus this year, A+ students, which I was very happy to see. The state did reduce the number of A+ hours, tutoring hours that students were required to have from 50 to 25, and that was a huge help for us. We didn't have as many opportunities to offer students this year for getting tutoring hours. I do think the elementary buildings with Dragon's Den, that was pretty much a saving grace for us this year. And without that opportunity, we would have lost a lot of opportunities for kids in order to be able to get their A+ hours. So thank both of you guys for having that and for also having our A+ students. They did have an opportunity to take a look at kindergarten registration, and we were able to provide some help in those areas. And I know that helps them, but the big help is for us being able to get those hours for those students. Cadet teaching this year, we had to try to reduce numbers. We just didn't have as many cooperating teachers that were willing to take that on. With everything else going on, having another student in their classroom that they were responsible for, we had a lot of teachers at the beginning of the year that just said, look, this isn't the time. And we understood that, we respected that, but that also limited the opportunities that we had for kids to be able to get in classrooms. So we're very happy that we were able to get as many opportunities and as many hours to kids, but we're also very happy that the state reduced that number from 50 to 25 for us. They did offer some grace in regards to attendance percentages. Just simply taking a look at students prior to we can take a look at their percentage prior to COVID, and we can take a look at it and say that's the stopping point for us. So if their attendance percentage was 95% or higher prior to COVID, prior to last year, March, and all the way through this year, we can take a look at that and we can apply that award to those students based on that percentage. So that offered us some opportunities to be able to award to a couple of kids that have had some attendance issues this year in regards to just everything going on. So that did help us in that piece as well. So overall, the state definitely gave us some leniency and some grace in that piece, and that just offered up some great opportunities for our students. I know that Mrs. Jury actually will be making this report to you guys next year. I'm very excited. This did briefly come up in our partnership meeting. She is working extremely hard right now to provide some internship opportunities for our students in the high school, which I see transcending as part of the partnership plan that you guys will see next school year. I know that she's working really hard to try to hopefully get some of those opportunities in place for maybe even as early as second semester next year. So if that is the case, that will definitely become part of the partnership plan, and you guys can see some big changes coming down the pike in regards to that piece. So I just felt like with everything else going on, I didn't feel like it was right for me to get in and make a bunch of changes to the partnership plan and take a look at that piece of it. Like I said, our A+ numbers are very high right now for our senior class. Our freshman class, we're really going to have to work on those numbers. We didn't have a freshman parent night. We didn't have our A+ parent night this year, just with everything going on. We didn't get an opportunity to get that out. We did have a video, and we pushed that out to parents, but our numbers at the freshman level right now definitely need some work in trying to get some recruitment of those students. And we do see a build as students become sophomores and juniors. They start to learn about the program. They get enrolled in the program, and we do tend to see those numbers increase, but we definitely need to work on the freshman enrollment in the A+ program. So with that said, does anybody have any questions about the A+ partnership plan?
I'll move to approve the A+ partnership plan as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Boyd.
Thank you.
Next, we have adjourned for executive session.
Under current, under 5 Missouri Statute 610.021, I motion that the Board of Education adjourn to a closed meeting with a closed record and closed vote after a short break for the purpose of discussing and voting upon the following items of business: hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees, scholastic probation, expulsion or graduation of identifiable individuals, and preparation, including any discussions of work product on behalf of a public governmental body or its representatives for negotiation with employee groups. This roll call, I'm making the motion, I need a second.
Second?
And a second, roll call, David Bova,
Yes.
Harry Bowler,
Yes.
Gerald Weasel,
Yes.
Ian Kirchner, Dave Kirchner,
Yes.
Martin Reed, Christian Rudolph,
Yes.